What's poppin', Mexipino family? Before we start this podcast, we want to talk to you about our good sponsors over here at Tap Tap Send.
Tap Tap Send is now available in Mexico, so you can send your family money from the U.S. to Mexico for literally no fees. No fees, and I know that I'm already going to start sending my cousins money in Mexico because I know that last time we were there, we got bottle service, and it was like fairly cheap, so I know how much it costs. Now I know, okay, if I want to treat them on a night out, I can definitely send them money for zero fees, and you actually get 10% more when you actually send through Tap Tap Send.
Yeah, that's so ill. And, you know, back to what Jackie was saying, like, imagine sending that much money, or a little money rather, to your cousins over in Mexico. They're going to be drinking their asses off for the entire weekend.
Yeah, so for example, if you're sending money right now, the conversion rate for $1 is like 17.28 in pesos.
Ooh.
But on Tap Tap Send, it's 17.48. So obviously, 10% more that your family is getting in Mexico. So use code Mexipino for your first $20 off.
Yeah, and don't forget, you could also still send money to the Philippines the exact same way. Use code Mexipino. Also, we want to talk about our new sponsors. You know, Mexipino Podcast, we got 2 sponsors now.
Yeah.
Know what I'm saying? Shouts out to My Realtor Dad by Michael Valero. So he was actually a sponsor for Mexipino Food Fest. And basically, if you need a home, if you need a house, if you need an apartment, you need to get your baby mama somewhere, you need to get your baby daddy somewhere, you need to get your dog somewhere.
I'm sorry.
You know what I'm saying? Make sure you hit up Real Estate Dad. That's real.estate.dad on Instagram. Also, too, the Realtor Dad has a book, Your Step-by-Step Guide to Buying a Home. If you're interested in getting this book, feel free to hit up Mike and make sure, I mean, there's no code Mexipino, but you could still hit up Mike and say Mexipino Podcast sent you. Now, let's get into the podcast, ladies and gents. Kamusta na kayo?
Hola, hola, everyone.
What's poppin', everybody? My name is Nico Blitz.
I'm Jackie Ramirez.
And this is the Mexipino Podcast. I was about to say Food Fest because we've been saying that for the past maybe like 2 weeks or so. But we're here, ladies and gents, with a special guest.
Yes, this is Benny.
Welcome, Benny.
This is Benny, Benito, a.k.a. Benny, Infante Ramirez. This is our child.
Yeah. I know you might have been thrown off when you seen the caption on this, but we do kind of have a child.
Yes,
you know?
we kind of have a kid. I know some of you guys who follow us on Instagram are very fully aware of Benny at this point. But we haven't formally introduced Benny on our podcast.
Yes.
For our listener family who don't follow us on Instagram, just follow us on our podcast. But this is Benny. He's a 5-month-old multi-poo.
Yes.
And now he is part of our little growing family.
Yeah, and he's been a bundle of joy ever since we got him. I tell Jackie this all the time, and anybody who comes across Benny, like, literally, he is an angel. He is the perfect dog.
Yes,
because
he just has separation anxiety right now.
Yeah, which, you know, I feel like is very normal for dogs, especially puppies, because he's 5 months. But, I mean, outside of the separation anxiety, he poos and pees in the right places for the most part. He's quiet during the day. We can have him during podcasts. Jackie could take him to work. I could take him to music sessions, and he's not crying. He's not doing this, that, and the third. He is good.
Yeah, he's great. Benny has been nothing but a bundle of joy in our lives. So yeah, this is Benny.
Yeah.
He's currently licking the mic right now. And yeah, just wanted to introduce you guys to Benny, because this is our little child for the time being. Yes.
And I will say that I am actually doing the most Filipino thing ever when it comes to Benny. And I didn't realize it literally until today.
Before this podcast.
Yeah, literally 5 minutes before this podcast. So, you know, Benny is his nickname. And for some reason, I just kept on saying, like, Benny, Benny.
Benny, Benny.
Yeah,
Benny,
I will
Benny.
just say Benny, Benny. And then it just dawned on me that Filipinos like to do this. They like to take a word and repeat it for whatever reason. I guess it's for emphasis or whatever, but just to give you a couple examples, right? Like, gembot, gembot, which just basically means like dance, dance. Like, why do we have to repeat the gembot, gembot?
Yeah, you're already dancing.
Exactly.
Like, yeah, I mean, you guys definitely do that. That's something like I've noticed. And when you started saying Benny, 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 I'm like, Okay, like, why does he say it twice? Like, he could just say it once.
Yeah, I don't know why I say it twice. I mean, another thing is like halo halo, which basically just means like mix mix. It's like, well, why is it mix mix? Why isn't it just mix?
Or ocho ocho.
Yeah, or ocho ocho.
Yeah.
The same thing. Like, it was just 1/8. You know what I mean?
1/8.
Yeah.
That's technically true. I don't know what happened to the camera thingy. Oh, okay.
There we go. Yeah, it's just 1/8. And I was just like, dude, like ocho ocho too?
Yeah.
Filipinos be doing everything that way.
They do. They really do. I think there's so many more like other things that like Filipinos repeat.
Like,
But
you have anything else off the top of your
I
head?
don't know. Galing galing.
Ang galing.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
That's what you gotta say.
Yeah. Good, huh?
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. That's what comes off the top of my head.
Yes. But
yeah.
shouts out to Benny. He was doing really good during the whole entire Mexipino Food Fest.
Yeah, I think having a dog has definitely made us like have so much more responsibility. I mean, like having a dog like with my parents is one thing, you know, like I grew up with dogs. I honestly, now that I think about it, I have never gone without like having a dog in my life.
That makes sense because you've shown me like a couple of the dogs that have been in your life before.
Yeah, like we used to have an Akita.
What?
It's kind of like a husky. It looks like a husky.
Okay.
But her name was Zoe. But I don't really count her as my first dog.
Okay.
Because I barely remember her. She was pretty crazy. So yeah. But my like first dog that I truly remember was a boxer. His name was Jake.
Okay.
And then we got Dexter. He was another boxer. He was all white, and then he had 2 different colored eyes.
Okay.
But then we figured out that he was deaf.
Oh,
Yeah.
wait. So how did you figure out your dog was deaf?
Okay, so I'm gonna put Benny down, guys. Okay,
Yeah, put him down. Put him down.
So Dexter, we figured out he was deaf because like he wouldn't listen. He had very bad behavioral issues.
Okay.
So then we were like, okay, like, you know, we need to figure out. So there was one time he was laying down on the grass and my mom was yelling his name. She's like, Dexter, Dexter, Dexter. And he wouldn't churn. He wouldn't wake up. And so then my mom was like, oh my God, is this dog dead? Like, is he dead? Like, I think he's dead in the backyard. My mom is going up to him and she's just like, oh my God, I think this dog is dead. And she didn't want me to see it. And I'm just looking at it. And then she like taps him and then he like wakes up and he's like, oh my God. Like, and she was like clapping, making noise. And we're like, oh my God, is he deaf? Like, so then I think we ended up taking him to the vet and they said like, yeah, dogs that are normally like all white from like breeds that they're not supposed to technically be all white, they're normally deaf or blind.
How in the biological sense does that make sense?
I think it's just like because of breeders type of thing, you know, like bad breeding.
It's almost like an albino, but
no,
like...
not like that. I think it's just like bad breeding, like, and then they also say that dogs with different colored eyes, some of them turn out blind. So he had different colored eyes too, but he wasn't blind. He was just deaf.
Okay.
So then we had to give him away to another family because we couldn't give him the care that he needed.
Exactly, because that would have been a dog that just needed like extra
attention. Yeah. And at that time, like we were gone pretty much every weekend for like softball tournaments and baseball tournaments. And Jake was already accustomed to that, like boxer that we already had. And so then came along Socks, my Shih Tzu. And then
little shit.
I got him when I was 12. I'm now 24 and he's still alive. So thank God.
Shout out to Socks, man.
And then now I have Benny.
Yeah, and
as he's stuck in my shorts.
Yeah, Jackie ended up giving Benny like a pair of her shorts, kind of like some throwaway shorts, and he's like in them right now.
Yeah, he's just like stuck in them right now. But yeah, I think having a dog definitely has given us a lot more responsibility. Yeah,
it's given me a new sense of responsibility too, because the only dog that I've had in my life prior to Benny, his name's Toby. Toby's like 16 years old. Let me just say that. This guy is an old man and he's still kicking, moving, and grooving to a degree. To a degree. But Toby, I remember this. Back at Ceremony Mall, right?
Oh gosh, here we go with Ceremony Mall again.
We're bringing up Ceremony Mall. The reason why Ceremony Mall was like super popping when you were a kid was because they had a pet store like at one of the corners of the mall.
I'm sick.
And so when you walked into this pet store, the first thing that you saw was like a turtle with 2 heads.
What?
Yes, it was like a little turtle with 2 heads, and they had it on display in the front. And I would just look at it every time, like, damn, this turtle legit has 2 heads.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
That's like, I don't think that's a legit pet store.
No, it was a legit pet store.
I don't think pet stores are legal, babe.
Well, I mean, you couldn't buy the turtle. It was just there.
So was it a legit pet store if you couldn't buy the turtle?
Yeah, it was a legit pet store. Like, you could buy fish, you could buy cats, you could buy dogs, anything.
Except for the turtle, the 2-headed turtles.
Well, except for that 2-headed turtle, because it was like on a display, like, oh, this is a rare breed type thing.
I think that's an experiment, not a breed.
I don't freaking know. Experiment, whatever you want to call it. But I remember when I was like, I don't know, let's just say, I'm 30 now. So yeah, we got Toby when when I was 14 years old, rather.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Damn.
And so Toby, he was, I don't know, I just remember seeing him, and me and my sister just saw him. We like fell in love right away. And then he was just like a super quiet, just to himself type of dog. He wouldn't even come out of the cage when we first got him.
Aww.
Yeah. He was very shy. And then, growing up, we realized that Toby is a very like to himself type of dog. So then we would kind of just like leave him alone and let him do his thing. And he would let us know whenever he would want whenever he would want attention. But to bring it back to this sense of like responsibility, I feel like all the things that I wanted to do when I was the things that I'm doing now are the things that I wanted to do when I was a kid. I just didn't make that connection that I should be doing these things.
Yeah.
Like I should be waking up early and, letting him out to like pee. I should be getting up early to like make sure he's like well fed and whatnot. Like, unfortunately, I didn't do that with Toby. Shout out to my mom. She handled all of that.
Responsibility.
All of that responsibility. I played with Toby throughout the day. But now with Benny, it's like, I find myself getting up like so much more earlier, whether it be like 7 o'clock, 7:30, just to make sure he pees, making sure like he's eating whatnot, and like finding this work-life balance, because I do work at home, right? So I find this work-life balance between like I should be working right now and I should play with him just a little bit. Yeah,
and I think also too, like for me, it's now this dog is very dependent on me, and like obviously you too. It's different when when you have a family pet, everyone's participating.
Yes.
For the most part. And now he's ours,
Yeah.
And Nico is also having baby fever because of Benny.
Well, you're just going to put me on the spot like that?
Yeah. Because we got a dog, Nico now has baby fever.
Well, I had a dream. I had a dream.
Okay. What? No. Don't just even start with the dream. It started like a week after we got Benny.
What do you mean?
All like, no, I have this new responsibility with Benny that like, I just like, I wouldn't mind a kid. I was like, sir, we've only had him a week, and a human child is way different than a dog. We're lucky he doesn't cry.
Okay, but how many guys will actually admit that, right?
No, like, and I definitely appreciate you admitting that. I do. But then Nico also has had a dream recently where we had a child.
Yeah, and it literally just happened yesterday, and it was so vivid. I was literally, me and Jackie were in like the emergency room or whatever it is, right?
In the hospital room?
In the hospital room. This was the dream. Me and Jackie were in the hospital room, and then I was looking at Jackie like, well, where's the baby? And then I didn't know what the gender was at the time. And then she was like, oh, well, the nurse has it. And then the nurse was like, I was like, nurse, like, where's our baby? And then I still didn't know what the gender was. And I had said like, and the nurse had said, oh, well, she's right here and she's healthy. I'm like, she? It's a she? I'm so happy it's a she.
I'm sick. Yeah. And then Nico, like, we have a baby girl name planned.
Yeah.
So we don't want to say that. It's going to be very funny, on brand.
Definitely on brand.
Definitely on brand, but a very cute name.
Mexipina.
No. No, that's her middle name. No, just kidding.
Right.
But yeah, it's like we have that planned. I have a boy name planned, but I don't think Nico's a big fan of it. So yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. It was nice to see all these like Mexipino babies though.
Yeah,
babies, kids, and whatnot at the Mexipino Food Fest.
Yeah, the Mexipino Food Fest I feel is just like the hub. Like, and I can think Nico and I both finally realized that like Mexipino Food Fest. Yeah, we're throwing it because I'm Mexican, he's Filipino, and we want to bring these cultures together. But we realized, oh, excuse me.
Sorry, Jackie's still recuperating from Mexipino Food Fest this weekend.
We realized like how much of the next generation after us are Mexipino.
Yeah,
like the kids, like our kids are gonna be that generation.
Yes, and you know what made me personally realize that was that like when we had our merch booth at Mexipino shop, a lot of people, I guess, were asking for baby clothes. Like, oh, where's the Mexipino baby clothes?
The kid sizes.
Yeah, the kid sizes. And I'm like, oh my God, like it made me realize that there are a couple people in our generation, me, my generation, Jackie's generation, who are Mexipino. It's very little, but where Mexipinos are actually extremely prominent, again, as Jackie said, is the generation after us. So like the babies who were just born within the past couple of years, right? I guess the quote unquote COVID babies or like around that era.
Yeah, maybe a little bit older too. Yeah, I think there was one little girl who actually is in my niece's Flocorico school, and her parents are Mexican and Filipino, and so she's Mexipino, and it was so cool because then the parents stuck around. Yeah, they were performing, but then the parents stuck around because it was like, well, this is a place for her.
Yeah.
And this is where she can see like all her cultures blend together. Mm-hmm. There was other kids that were just Mexipino. And it's so funny when people like come up to us and be like, oh, they're Mexipino. And I look at these kids, I'm like, damn, like this also makes me super excited to have a kid eventually, where it's just like, oh man, like I am putting this community together for our future kid.
Well, I think that's what it is, right? Like I think right now, I had a conversation with somebody. Benny's right here, by the way. I had a conversation with somebody at the Mexipino Food Fest, and it was this older lady, and she was talking about like the reason why I wanted to come here was to meet both you and Jackie because she's writing a book about the relationship between Mexican and Filipino music and how very similar they are. And so when it came down to it, I think thinking about the Mexipino community, even though it's not directly me and it's not directly Jackie, for example, and it's a blend of both of us, I think that right now, actually, let me get back to the music. I'm sorry, I'm still waking up from the food fest, but like, right now we're seeing a light for not just Mexican music, right? But like Spanish music. We're seeing Spanish music become global and become like a really big thing. We're seeing Asian music. We're seeing Filipino music really become global and, become a thing now. Shout out to Easy Mill. Shout out to Ilona Garcia. And I think what's important is that like when these cultures become more blended and more common right now and in the future, there will already be a set space for them to like nurture these things and be more of themselves, right? Because growing up, like, I'm not sure about Jackie, but like there weren't open format spaces like that where I could just be unapologetically Filipino. Yeah, we had like Pistahan back in the Bay Area, but it was kind of like this old school type Filipino thing. There was nothing for like the cool, like the Filipino Americans who were around my age. Yeah. So we're creating something cool for the Mexipino children of today and for tomorrow. And hopefully, like, as it continues to grow, it just continues to be cool for that culture.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And like you were saying, like I think this past year has definitely been a breakout year for both like Filipino artists and Mexican artists and Spanish music and Filipino music. Just because, like, I mean, you look at these music charts, you look at the bigger names that people know now. You know that, you know, some have been in the game for a while, some who are just starting out, some who, you know, that are now getting their flowers and who are able to go and start their own tours or be on Billboard's top 100. You know, it's like it's insane. It's so cool to see that, and being a part of, I guess, this movement. I like to think that we're starting a movement, you know?
I like to think so too.
I like to think that we're starting a movement of, you know, putting the platform of more Mexicans and more Filipinos, more Latinos and more Asians in general too. Like, okay, this is a safe space for, yes, Mexipinos, but for everybody.
Yeah, because we saw a whole bunch of different cultures over there too. I mean, I saw a lot of white people, I saw a lot of black people, and I was like, oh yeah, this is exactly what we wanted. Like, even though our target audience is Mexican and Filipino, like, that doesn't mean other cultures cannot appreciate the rest of what's going on here.
Yeah, there is this one family that has gone to our Burbank Mexipino Food Fest, and now went to the Montebello Food Fest. They made their own shirts because they're a mixed family of Mexican, Filipino, and I think it's Guatemalan.
Yeah.
I think they're Guatemalan or Salvadorian. I can't remember. I know, well, because both flags have the same colors.
Yeah,
so I'm just like, damn, what flag was it? I can't remember.
Well, that's a red flag.
Yeah, so then I was just like, okay, but they made their own like shirts, and like everyone, you know, every single family member had like what they were. The kids had like all three flags.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that.
And then the husband had like in the back Filipino by association. And it was just like so funny to me. But it was like seeing those families, and they came to our merch booth, but we had sold out.
Yeah.
And then they were like, oh my gosh, I told them, I was like, we'll put it online somewhere. And then they're all like, okay. They're like, we literally came for like, also because we saw that you guys were selling and the shirts. And I'm just like, I know, I'm so sorry. But they were really cool. There was a mom who had come up to me, Sara. I remember her name, Sara. She came up to me and she had just found out about us.
Lit.
And then she found out about the podcast. She's like, hey, I just started following the podcast. Like, what do you guys talk about? And it felt so cool to say, you know, like what it is that we do. I told her, I was like, yeah, we talk about the occasional like random stuff. I was like, but more importantly, we talk about, you know, taboo things that we don't talk about in our cultures.
Yeah.
We talk about interracial relationships. We talk about just relationships in general. We talk about anything and everything, you know, and mental health. We talk about everything. And then she was just like, oh, okay. She goes, well, I'm Mexican. My husband's Filipino. He's not here. And her son, I think he looked like about 14.
Yeah.
And she's like, so he's Mexipino. She goes, but I'll take a listen now that I know. And I'm just like, well, thank you. I really appreciate that.
Super cool.
So, yeah, the food fest was really fun. It's really cool to also bring on, because I know a lot of people think that, like, you know, Mexipino Food Fest is just us. And now, at first it was, and now it's not. We brought on my brother and my sister-in-law, Jacob and Denise. You guys have heard that so many times, like that their names. And so they're now a part of the Mexipino Food Fest team. So, like, I think, you know, like everyone was giving us our flowers. And then I was so happy when vendors, especially because, you know, we were working so close with the vendors, would give Jay and Denise their flowers too, you know, and that makes me feel really good. It's cool to just have this, you know, family operation.
Yeah. Well, I say it like this. One of the greatest things, in my opinion, that you could ever do in life is put on for your loved ones. And what I mean by that is if you're able to create something and make jobs for whether it be your family or your friends and have them be a part of something that is amazing and that actually affects people's lives in a positive way, why wouldn't you want that?
Yeah.
You know, I think that we get caught up too much in like, oh, like this is something like I built, this is me. But no, like it actually takes an entire team to make something as vast as this.
Even for Burbank, you know, Nico and I like definitely were the ones spearheading every like layout, reaching out to vendors, doing this, doing that. But Burbank Food Fest, Mexipino Food Fest wouldn't have even been as successful as it was had it not been for our volunteers and for my family.
Exactly.
Like that was insane. Yeah. That was absolutely insane. We're not prepared. So this time around, you know, my family doesn't have to like, you know, do any of the things that they do. My dad definitely doesn't have to help us, you know, grab the trash and put it in dumpster bins, you know. Yeah. My brother and my sister-in-law now kind of have to because they work with us, but at first they didn't have to. They didn't like, you know, and then like it goes for your family too. Like they've helped it and support us, you know, they support us. I know like your family lives in a different city, but I mean, they still support us with like sharing everything that we do, even though they're in a completely different city. They share what we do. They support us by, you know, actually like, you know, supporting our merch.
Supporting from afar.
Yeah, supporting from afar. And I know that when we go back to the Bay for the Mexipino Food Fest, hint, hint, we'll come back soon.
Yeah.
That, you know, your family is definitely going to be present in it, you know?
1,000%. And I know my family will do the same thing. Hopefully they do not take Kaylee's cookies from us anymore. You know what I'm saying? Shouts out to Jackie's mom for taking Kaylee's cookies from us.
I'm sick. Yeah. My mom.
Kaylee's Cookies was a vendor at our food fest.
Yeah. She was, she gave us like a whole little box of like cookies and my family ate them. And we didn't even get to try them.
I know. I was hella sad because there was one that was like a ube cookie. There was the Cookie Monster cookie, and that's the one that sold you. Yes, and I was just like, dude, like I'm not even a sweets person like that, but I wanted that cookie so bad.
In fairness, you did tell my mom like, yeah, you guys can like pass them around.
I know, and that's where I shot myself in the foot because by the time we got back to the crib and we saw all the goodies we had, I'm like, she really took all of Kaylee's cookies. That's what I was looking for right away.
There are some really good cookies from Kitsch Cakes.
Yeah. Fire.
Oh my God.
It was like a ube. What was it? Like a ube
chocolate like crinkle cookie, and I think it had ube in it.
Yeah.
But it's so good. We still have some, and I really want to go grab one right now. And then we also got this candle from Manila Candle, one of our vendors. Let me show you. I don't know if you guys can.
Was it from Manila Candle?
Yeah, it is from Manila
Candle. Dope.
Yeah,
so Manila Candle.
I don't know if you guys can see.
Let me say this. The branding on Manila Candle was just so fire because the candle that they gave us that I was just smelling and raving over was the candle called Tito Boy.
Tito Boy,
I'm like, y'all made a scent out of Tito Boy? And then I was like, y'all got to get like a Tita Baby and everything like that.
I don't know if it's going to offset the light. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. But I was like, yo, like, you made a Tito Boy, you need a Tita Baby, you need a Marites. And then he's like, oh, like we sold out on all those too. I said, oh, the branding is great. Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's going to smell like your Tita Baby.
No.
But you know what I mean? The branding is on point.
Yeah, like this one's called Tito Boy. There's another one called Plantita that they gave us. And then there's another vendor, Anberg Candles.
Yeah.
They also gave us a candle that is called the Sampaguita, which is the official flower.
Which is the national flower of the Philippines. I have it over here on my forearm, by the way.
That's right. That's right. I forgot about that. But yeah, this Tito Boy candle smells really clean.
Another thing.
I don't know if Tito Boys normally smell clean.
I mean, it smelled good enough for me. And I was like, well, I guess this is how I smell. I guess at some point I'd be a Tito Boy. Yeah. I think at some point, every Filipino boy graduates into a Filipino Tito Boy. You know what I'm saying?
I get that. I get it.
You get it?
Yeah, because we, as Mexicans, are like, we graduate from like being the kid told that like from being told like as a kid like, oh, like that person's gonna take you, se va a llevar el señor, then we become en señor and señora. And that's when you know like, oh, okay, like if I hear this, I have to play this role so hard, like, yeah, I'm gonna take you home if you don't behave and listen to your mom.
Yeah.
So yeah. I remember one time like my grandma would always tell me that, and like if I wasn't staying close by to her, she would always say, te va a llevar el señor, te va a llevar el señor, like that man's gonna take you.
Oh my God.
And then one time I was at a grocery store, I think I was at Super A or something, and then this lady tells her son like, te va a llevar el señora, and then she points at me, I was like, fuck yeah, like this is what I live for.
You just graduated.
I just graduated.
That's hella funny. That reminds me of a time when I was actually at Ceremony Mall again.
Oh my God.
The amount of times we're gonna
Mall. I need to go to Ceremony Mall now.
So I was at Ceremony Mall, and I remember this so vividly. I guess you could say it's trauma. But then, like, I had my Heelys on, right?
I'm sick. Not the Heelys.
Yes.
Not the Heelys.
I had my Heelys on, and, you know, I was zooming through, and then my mom had told me, like, hey, don't go too far, otherwise you're going to get lost. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever. And then so I kept on zooming through, and then when I looked back, I said, oh, fuck, where the hell is my mom at? And then I started crying.
That's what you get. That's what you get. Oh, you were a crier?
Yeah.
Ew.
I started crying like at the mall. I was like, I don't know where my mom is.
That's such an ick. If your like partner was that kid that started like crying.
I was a child. What do you mean?
No, you know those like badass kids that just cry hella loud in a mall.
Okay, I wasn't like a badass kid. I felt lost. What the heck? And so my mom came around from like the corner and she was like, see what happens when you don't listen to me, when you like fly off too quickly.
I'm sick. That's
I'm
hilarious.
like, Jesus.
I think that happened to my brother once when
Really?
like he was a kid. Like I think it was like in the Target or something that he went into. I don't know if he went into like the clothing rack.
Okay.
But like he got lost or something like that, and then he started crying. And then my mom, like my dad, I think got mad at him.
Yeah.
And he like he spanked him or something. I don't know what the story is, but then like after that, it stopped right away. Yeah, my parents like cut off like our tantrums like very quickly as a kid.
Oh yeah.
Like yeah, it was like you don't do that and you don't ever do that again.
Jesus
and
Christ.
we're like, okay. And then, yeah. I don't think I ever, maybe I did, but I don't think I ever threw a tantrum as a kid. I think it was more my brother than me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the tantrums came out when Jackie was a preteen. From what I was told.
Fuck you up for that one.
Another thing that I definitely wanted Jackie to try. Well, who was the vendor?
Olamanca Snacks.
Yeah, Olamanca Snacks, right? So something that it didn't dawn on me that there's a similar candy between like at least Mexicans and Asians, right? Jackie's gonna go ahead and grab it, and we need to give our vendors their flowers right now. So in Mexican culture, they have chamoy candy, and chamoy is just this super spicy type candy paste.
So yeah, so chamoy, like you know the chamoy candies with like tajin, and chamoy is like this paste, you know, this like chili paste. Tajin is obviously, I don't know,
Yeah,
like
it's
tajin.
tajin.
I don't know.
Tajin. Y'all know what tajin
Yeah.
is.
It. I guess tajin is spicy depending on the color of your skin, but I don't know.
Jesus
like,
Christ.
Yeah, I mean, some white people find tajin really spicy. I'm like, guys, be so for real right now.
Yeah, it's just taste.
But so these were our two vendors, Olomana Snacks with a Z and B Sugar Spice. One's Filipino.
No, Olamana Snacks because it's Li Hing powder, and Li Hing is plum. That is actually Hawaiian.
Oh, so Hawaiian and Mexican owned. So we were literally just like comparing the two. I was like, oh, okay. So we figured out that like the two snacks that Filipinos and Mexicans have in common, or like Asian Pacific Islanders have in common, is like chamoy. And I don't know like how to go about this. Like
Well, so let me just. Well,
I don't know.
What were you gonna do?
I don't know. Like, I was gonna explain how I was explaining it last night. Like how one is like sweet and sour and one is like spicy.
Yes. So then, shout out to B Sugar Spice. She has the
Because you were looking at
chamoy.
your phone and you were gonna go into this, so I was just like, okay,
No, yeah,
I guess
so-
I'm bankrolling this.
No, so B Sugar Spice is chamoy, and it is very spicy. And then Olamana Snacks, which is Hawaiian, it is very just sweet.
Sweet and yeah, and
Sweet
sour.
and sour. Sweet and sour.
And I feel like the Mexican candy is just like
yeah.
spicy,
So
which is good. I'm
so
not
Jackie, as a Mexican,
So Jackie. Okay, so Nico.
as a Mexican, are we doing chamoy or are we doing lihing?
We're doing chamoy just because I like love spiciness, but I know a lot of like people don't like chamoy.
Okay.
Like, yeah, a lot of people don't like chamoy because they say it's too much and it's too like messy and sticky. I know a lot of people don't like it on their drinks either.
Yeah, I mean, I think Pilo was talking about it, like having like chamoy and like tajin on like drinks and whatnot.
Too much.
Sometimes it's too much. That's why like I'll have like a little bit and I'm just like, I don't need it around the entire brim of the cup.
You don't need it like dripping down the rim of the cup.
Exactly. At that point, it's just like, come on, dude. Like, I'm not trying to drink a beer and then have all this like sugar, spice, and everything nice just like, fall on my mouth as well.
Pause.
Right? I'm just saying, when it's like too much, it's like, okay, I don't really want it anymore. That's why for me, like, I would really go with the Li Hing because with Li Hing, it's like, it's to the point. It's not too much. You get the sweet and sour taste, and boom, you're good.
I think my mom would prefer Li Hing over the chamoy. And I
Really?
think my dad too, because my dad doesn't really like spicy.
Yeah.
My mom doesn't. She thinks like the chamoy candies, Mexican candies, can be overbearing.
Yeah.
So I think they're gonna like the Li Hing a lot.
Yeah.
I think like Jacob might like it too. Denise will be cool with it, but I think Denise might prefer the chamoy candies.
Yeah, well, we want to know what y'all prefer, man. Like, is it
Li
the
Hing
chamoy or the Li Hing? And if you haven't had one or the
Either.
other, like, you should definitely try it.
You should hit up our vendors. Be Sugar Spice for chamoy, and then Olomana Snacks for Li Hing.
Amen to that, my friends. But yes, shouts out to Mexipino Food Fest. That was definitely a fun time. And shouts out to all the food vendors that we had because I was literally actually full for the entire time.
No, literally. And shout out to all of our performers too.
Yeah.
They all did so amazing.
Oh, insane. I mean, shout out to Chase Martinez. Shouts out to all the DJs. And shout out to the city of Montebello because, Mexipino Food Fest, we were able to bring the biggest pop star in the world to Montebello ever since Ariana Grande. You feel me?
I'm sick. Not Ariana Grande.
Shout out to
Literally,
Twee, man.
Yeah, Twee was so great. But the reason Nico says like Ariana Grande is because I remember in high school we were competing for like this radio station like competition.
Yeah.
We were competing. I went to Shore High School, and our competing school was like Nogales High School for this like radio competition, and we had to vote for like to bring Ariana Grande to our school. And Shore High School ended up winning, so they brought her. She did a couple performances, and I remember, oh my god, I literally tweet about this every year. I tweet about this every year because I never wanted to like leave anyone's brain
Okay.
that I went to high school with. But she called, like she goes to her school, she like performs, and at some point, I don't know if she tweeted it or she said it and someone heard it, but she called her school ghetto.
Ooh.
Like she called, like, so I tweet every year. I'm like, yo, remember that time Ariana Grande came to your high school and she called it ghetto? And everyone goes like, dude, I remember this, or dude, I think about this like so randomly too. I tweet about it every year.
But like, why did she call the school ghetto though?
I don't know. Like, well, I mean,
But like, did she have
ghetto.
like a like what was the experience like when she was performing?
Well, from what I know, she was just like she was supposed to be principal for a day. Didn't do that.
Oh, okay.
I don't know where the hell that promise went.
Everybody leave.
literally, like, I don't know where the hell that promise went, but was not the the principal for a day. It was like somebody, I remember I tweeted it and somebody quote tweeted it, and then they were all like, yeah, she was supposed to be principal for a day and instead gave us a half-ass performance or sorry-ass performance.
Damn.
I was like,
was it that bad?
I mean, at that time, I remember she performed that song that she had with Mac Miller.
Yeah.
So
the way
yeah,
you feel.
yeah. And then so I think it was that one. I think that was the one she performed. But she performed like, oh my God, I think it was maybe like 10 minutes at most.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Okay.
And then she went on top of like the biggest building in our school, which was C building. If you know, you know. But like, then she wasn't wearing like, I think she wasn't wearing like any shorts underneath. So people who were at the bottom could see up her skirt and they were like, oh my God, like somebody tell her. So like, yeah, it was just a whole mess. And then,
oh, that's bad. That's really bad.
She like privately met with like our ASB, like student union or whatever. And then she like said hi to like some other classes. And then she like had like a private, like, yeah, I don't know what it was. But then like everyone was just kind of like, oh, this is what we voted for. Like,
I mean, you had like one of the biggest pop stars at your school. I'm not sure what the issue is. It seems like
we're also a bunch of haters too. Like we're also when we were a little ghetto, but like
I mean, not the ghetto part, but what I'm saying is just like I mean, it seemed like there was already tension from like your guys and like, oh, you know, this was a mid performance, and then for her, it's just
because it's like, well, we like all of us were literally had to vote for you, and it was being pushed down our throats, you know.
Yeah.
And so we voted, we got it just for her to call us ghetto and then not even fulfill the responsibilities of the contest that we like. Well, it's just so funny. I tweet about it every year. It's because it's just like, I randomly think about those things. Like, I remember in high school, there was also like this random guy. I don't know who it was. Maybe some people know who it was, but like, I never found out who it was. Mm-hmm. He would dress up in a Spider-Man costume. And for like a week straight, like he would find himself on top of like these walkways.
Okay.
And he would just run around the walkways and it would like surrounded the whole school and we were all like, what the fuck is going on here? Like this is so random.
So this would just be like a random guy. So let me map this out.
Yes.
There would be a random dude in a Spider-Man costume who would infiltrate his way into the school and onto the roof
he was a student.
Oh my, I'm over here thinking it's like some 30-year-old dude like in a freaking Spider-Man costume.
No,
like, what?
He was a student and then, but like, no one would like, I don't know how the hell he would get on top of like this walkway because the walkway had like, kind of just like it had a little roof over it, you know? Yeah. So, so I don't know how he got up there and I was just like, okay. And it happened maybe like 3 times. Yeah. And I was just like, is no one questioning it? And it would get to the point where someone would see the Spider-Man and be like, oh, and then just keep on walking. And then I remember during my senior year too, there was a week straight of like trash cans being blown up with fireworks.
Huh?
So like there was the very first time like everyone got really scared because it was like a big like we thought it was like a
boom.
Bomb.
Yeah.
We thought it was like, and then I don't know if it was like a senior prank or some people just being stupid, maybe a little bit of both, but it was for like a week straight. There was trash cans being blown up in the school in random spots. And then like security would get so pissed because like no one knew who it was. And they would just light a firework, throw it in the trash can and then just keep walking away. And then we were so desensitized to it that like if it was probably a real bomb, we probably wouldn't have done anything. Like, we would just be walking and somebody could pass, like, a trash can that explodes, and they're like, okay.
Damn, y'all school is crazy. Crazy.
And the famous words of Ariana Grande, ghetto.
I know, you should just have, I feel like Montebello or rather Sure High School, they should just have, like, you know, like how you see quotes all over high schools?
Yeah.
Just like, quote, ghetto, and then Ariana Grande.
That's hella funny. We should have had her in our yearbook that year, being like... We have her give her a full page.
Yeah.
And then you know how you have scenery quotes? Have Ariana Grande's quote. Ghetto.
Oh my God. Well, I'm back to Twee. Definitely killed it. Twee blessed the stage. Everybody, make sure you follow her at Twee Music. She brought her dog onto stage.
Ollie.
Yeah, shout out to Ollie. And, you know, they did their thing. It was actually, I think we got a really cool moment because it was the first time Twee actually was able to bring her dog on stage because her song Universe is about Ollie. And somehow it became like a song for marriages and whatnot. So shout out to Twee, man.
Relationships.
Well, yes. Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Again, I'm still recovering from Mexipino Food Fest, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, literally.
But just to keep the ball rolling with everything that we have for Mexipino events, rather, we will be doing a live podcast over at the Spotify studios in Los Angeles on Tuesday, 9/26.
Yes. So that's going to be super exciting. We have partnered with Spotify. We're going to be doing a live podcast.
Yes.
I don't know if we're going to be having a guest list. Are we?
We will be having a guest list. So what you want to do is you want to DM us at Mexipino Podcast and just say like, hey, I'd like to get on the guest list for your Spotify event. And once again, this Spotify event will be doing a live podcast in front of a studio audience, aka you guys and the good people over here at Spotify. Yeah. We have a lunch that starts at 12 p.m. and the food will be catered by Sending Nudes, one of our vendors from Mexipino Food Fest.
Yeah. So it's going to be really fun. And then after that, we're going to have the live podcast. We're going to talk about, you know, obviously it's Hispanic Heritage Month. So we want to talk about Hispanic Heritage Month, Filipino Heritage Month, how it kind of combines. And then just talk like we normally do. It's just going to be really, really awesome event. Hopefully we can do a lot more with Spotify after this. So fingers crossed.
Exactly.
And yeah, if you're part of our listener family, are in Los Angeles or want to make the trip down to LA or up to LA for that Tuesday, DM us first for this guest list and we'll get you on.
Yeah, once again, just make sure you DM us at Mexipino Podcast. It is on 9/26. That is a Tuesday from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. And we hope to see y'all there, ladies and gents. Shouts out to our dog Benny, just absolutely chilling. Shouts out to all our vendors at Mexipino Food Fest.
Yes.
Shouts out to our sponsors Tap Tap Send and My Realtor Dad. We will see you next time at Spotify.
Tap Tap Send Philippines and Tap Tap Send Mexico.
Yes.
Yeah.
Later, guys.
Adios.